Welcome back to the Play Pouch. You're listening to a fantastic new podcast, and we are still learning to use this brand new OBS streaming stuff. And so, yes, we do apologise if things go a bit weird during the show.
It's normally me, guys, just for the record. It's normally my fault.
So let me just mute my phone as well. So for this episode, we are discussing The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt and why it was so good. We thought we'd give this a little bit of a deep dive and sort of discuss the reasons why it was just so amazing. So I'm just going to sort of play some cinematics in the background for it.
Yeah.
So why don't you kick things off then?
Well, let's kind of discuss very quickly. Won't bother people why we're kind of doing this now. We realised there's been a lot of kind of negativity a little bit, not particularly from us on purpose, just because there's been a lot of kind of crappy news going around, as there is in the game industry. So we thought, you know what, we're going to screw doing the news and everything for a week. We're just going to pick a game, one of our favourite games, both of our favourite games, over the past years, just in case there is the odd person out there who hasn't played this game.
Yeah.
I don't think there's many, but just in case.
Yeah.
So we're going to be advertising CD Projekt Red, pretty old game now, not old, but obviously they've done Cyberpunk in the meantime. So yeah, where to start off? Well, my entry point into the Witcher series was you kind of got me into it. Now I'd heard of it. But after me and you kind of reconnected after a while and we discussed our favourite games, you kept on telling me, The Witcher 3, the side quests, the quality of the... You kept on going on about the side quests, the quality of the side quests, the quality of the writing of the side quests was your big selling point to me.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, it sounds great, but do I have to go and play the first two? And so it's like, well, do I have to play the first one and the first two? It felt like I had to. But in the end, I decided to just say, screw it, hopefully I'll pick up the story kind of along the way. And for the most part, you can. There's some things that I didn't understand, I won't lie. There was a couple of things. But the majority of it, I kind of got what was going on. The stuff with Yennefer, I struggled with a little bit because it's like, I've got no knowledge of this. And the other chick, Triss, is it? And it's like, I don't know who you are. I'm meant to know who you are. I've got no idea who you are.
Yeah. It would have been nice if they did a sort of like a recap of the previous two.
Yeah, that would have been good. Yeah.
So this, if for all those who don't know, this is a game that came out in 2015, and it's the sequel to The Witcher 2: Assassins of Kings. And it's a trilogy. It's the last part of a trilogy, and it's based on the fantasy novels. A sort of like a Slavic sort of mythology by Andrei Sapkowski, and his involvement was fairly minimal. All he really did was help design the map, and that was kind of it, really. So I mean, I don't know how much they took from the books. I don't know how many books they adapted for this. I know there's a few. I was at the bookstore the other week, and I was going through all the Witcher books, and there's a fair few. There was at least 8 that I counted. So there's definitely more to be told. But the reason why this is so that it's such a sort of a gritty fantasy is literally just because of the guy who wrote it being a sort of a Polish dude. I believe he's Polish. Yeah. So and it's a Polish-based production, so it all fits beautifully, and it was the perfect title. It was the perfect type of game to come out at the time. And it should have really started development in 2008, but there were some delays for some reason, and they didn't sort of start it until 2011. Really, it took 3.5 years to make, which is quite amazing. Also, this was supposed to be an answer to Elder Scrolls Skyrim, the developers kind of wanted to do, a genuine open world, and they kind of felt like, despite the fact that the Skyrim game was really good, that they wanted to bring their own sort of piece to it. They wanted to sort of do it differently, and of course, it's not like a genuine open world game. It is sort of like regional. So we do have some aspect of open world, and I'm guessing that they had to kind of claw back on that just because maybe it's difficult for them to do. It was developed on the Red Engine 3, and was released originally for PlayStation 4, Windows, and Xbox One in May of 2015. And so you had a bit of a disconnect there, I noticed.
Again, yeah, but I saw it much faster this time. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
It's always me. It's always me. My internet, to be fair, is much poorer than Pete's. But
no, we have to find you a better internet connection. So yeah, I was just explaining how it was sort of originally an answer to Skyrim, and it was supposed to be sort of massively sort of open world, but they had to claw back a little bit, basically.
I was asking, what was your entry into it? I was curious. Did you play the first two?
I played the second one. I didn't play the first one. So the news that they're remastering the first one and then probably the second one is great for me. So yeah,
I'll be up for that. Yeah,
definitely get a bit more of a back history. I don't remember what happened in the second one. I know that there was a massive epic war that we had to be a part of. So,
was it a war against the mages? Was it? Right. Or am I thinking of Dragon Age?
I don't recall. This is.
I'm thinking of Dragon Age. I think.
Yeah. Possibly.
I mean, I was hooked pretty quick into it. These are my kind of games, and you were bang on right when you were telling me I'd like it, because you were 100% that I did.
Yeah.
The biggest thing. Let's not beat around the bush. The biggest thing it does better than anything else, it is the writing of the quality of the side quests. Even more so than the main quest. The main quest is fine, don't get me wrong, but the quality of the side quests, they were just as important, or they felt just as important, and the differences you can make to these people, just as much, it felt as important as the main quests to me anyway. I was invested in every one. I can't think off the top of my head anyway of any of the side quests where I wasn't invested. And that investment is just something that most games can't do, especially for their side quests. I mean, they might invest you a little bit in their main quest. I'm currently playing through Final Fantasy Rebirth, as you know, and the side quests I'm getting now, I mean, it's like night and day. Oh, it's late. I'll just do another mini game, because that's a side quest.
Yeah.
So, the quality of the side quest, Pete, I don't think. There's been other RPGs who have told good stories, like your Mass Effects and stuff like that. But I don't think anyone does a side quest as much as this game. The quality, I don't think so. I can't think of one.
Well, it's come from the writing, hasn't it? And the type of main story that it is, in that you're hunting. Well, I say hunting. You're searching for your stepdaughter Ciri, and whilst you're doing that, well, it's not just Ciri that you're looking for. You are looking for Yennefer as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so whilst that's going on, you're dealing with contracts, if you like, where you have to go and hunt monsters and sort of get payment from people. So yeah, it's the perfect kind of main storyline where you can sort of let go of it for a bit, do some stuff. And that's the point where you just get involved with these other people, specifically a character called Philip Strenger, otherwise known as the Bloody Baron, and his whole storyline was so good, and I won't spoil it for anyone who hasn't played it, but
No,
I
just in
really
case.
do.
Yeah, just in
Yeah,
case.
I really do implore people to actually play this game and do all the side quests, because it is really just like it's a joy to sort of experience, and yeah.
I
Um,
mean, you're going across the land. Obviously, you've got your main quest, and you're kind of following the footsteps. And obviously, you're coming across different kind of small towns or small people just out in the wilderness. And as you say, you take on contracts, and normally most of these contracts are hunt a monster, and the monster's going to be different. A different monster, so you have to employ different tactics. You have to find out kind of their weaknesses and stuff like that. Prepare certain potions to take all these things, which really do make a difference. And we did a Fallout 4 little cast not that long ago, and we were talking about how the balance of the main story and the side quests was all wrong in that game. So much so that the main quest you didn't care about doing anything. You just planted your crops and screw you, son.
yeah,
But no, on this it is you did you 50-50'd it, or at least I did. Did I just do the side quest and ignore the main quest? Not at all. I did the main quest. I felt that I was still on the footsteps of the main quest, and it would drip feed you bits and bits. You felt like you were making progress, but along the way you were doing all these side quests because to earn money and to help the civilians out as well, I suppose. Most of whom, by the way, didn't treat you that well initially because you've got quite a bad reputation, haven't you?
yeah. I was going to bring this up. Yeah, yeah. Go on.
Yeah, they're the witches have not got a great reputation, so you are treated a little harshly. But normally you can win the people over. Normally, who you help.
Yeah, that's part of the battle in it, where like convincing people that witches aren't all that bad.
They're not that bad. Yeah.
Maybe there was a couple of arseholes, back in the day, but Geralt certainly is not one to sort of be a bastard. He's actually quite a decent guy, and I love his character as well. I remember telling you, like, you're going to love him because he's a miserable bastard, right?
Just let me. Yes, that's right.
And he's sort of like, oh, okay, fine, right, all this kind of thing.
Reluctant hero, Pete. They're always the best ones. The anti-heroes, the reluctant heroes.
Yeah. And it, I mean, it's just visually, it's great. It had graphics for the time were just sort of cutting edge. They were great. Wasn't afraid to show nudity, not full nudity, but it did sort of like girls would whip their knockers out and stuff like that, and I guess that's fine.
It depends on it's a mature game
Yeah,
discussing very mature things. The least of which is showing some boobs on the screen. Some of the subject it tackles can be a bit dark, but it's realistic. And me and you have said that at least at this stage in our life, because we're middle aged and everything, we need that maturity really.
we need that
in our game.
nudity.
We need those boobies, bruv. Without the boobies, there's no
And
game.
I was happy that they ended up putting in a switch to turn it off, and I believe they should have done that from the beginning. I'm pretty sure they didn't. I'm
Did
pretty
they not
sure
have
that
that
they.
originally? Then did they add it later on?
I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure, but I did notice it at some point. I was like, oh, there is actually a switch. So yeah, whether they've added it or they had it in from the beginning, I'm not sure. I don't think so, to be honest. But yeah, it just allows more people to play it, because if you're like a sort of a spotty herber, who's playing the game in the sitting room with your parents, you don't want some bird in a brothel to just sort of whip them out.
But if it fits the settings though, because this is a fantasy medieval world.
Yeah, of
And
course. Yeah,
Ladies of the Night, as I'm sure you know, is one of, if not one of the oldest professions there ever been. So it should be there. It is there.
yeah,
But I don't mind it because, like I say, it tackles a lot of things that I personally is much worse than obviously a little bit of sex, which is obviously there's. Again, I don't want to spoil it, but it covers most mature themes as you could imagine. There's a lot of death. There's a lot of bad, very bad things that happen. But you are playing a guy who is meant to stop that, and for the most part, you can normally bring justice to a lot of them who who do that, and I think that morally that does make you well. It makes me feel good. I can't do anything about the bad things in the world in real life, but I can in the game, and I think that's the kind of fantasy. One of the things that you kind of play games for, to be a hero. He is a hero. He's not a perfect person. He's a flawed individual.
Yeah.
He makes mistakes. He doesn't always make the right call, but he does his best probably in a world for which he can actually make a difference. So I found that a power fantasy. I like my power fantasies to a certain degree. I don't like it being too powerful, and I don't think he was. I thought the balance was decent, and I guess we will come onto the combat at some point, and that's probably the weakest part of the game for me. I don't know if you want to talk about it right now, Pete. We can if you want. It's up to you.
Well, I wanted to just give people an idea of the backdrop of the
Okay.
game, the setting first, basically, which is that the world that they're in is in turmoil, is in chaos. The Empire of Nilfgaard has struck the northern kingdoms, and really it's just like it's a battle for power, of course, but the northern kingdoms are kind of weak, and there's a faction called the Wild Hunt. This is sort of like a sort of an spectral type of riders who sort of ride through the land and cause chaos, and it's been happening for a very long time. And so Geralt sort of really just decides to sort of deal with it, as well as search for Ciri and Yennefer to sort of help him and stuff like that. And yeah, so in amongst all of that, we just have like these really, really dark people. You've got the three witches that were on the screen earlier, and their whole storyline that they want to eat children, and it's just really fucking dark. But this is exactly the sort of game that we've been craving, and yeah, I just wish I could wipe my memory and start again with it, to be honest. But yeah, so it's pretty much perfect, but as you said, the combat is lacking. Do you want to explain why that is? Okay, we've lost your voice. Whilst you sort that out. Yeah, so the combat is good. Don't sort of get us wrong. It's not terrible, but it is something that could be sort of polished, and sort of dealt with. I think it's the sort of the swiftness of the actual character movement, the sword play, and the magic and all that. It's not bad, but Nick sort of has something that he kind of wants to.
Sorry about that. It's Discord is frozen on me again. I'm back. I don't know what's wrong with it, bro. My apologies. That's twice. Yeah. I don't know why it's doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I could still hear you, but my mic wasn't coming through.
Right.
Yeah. The combat. It's quite simplistic. I felt. I think that's the worst part of the game is the combat. But the fact that it didn't bother me that much just really underlines the quality of everything else. That was its biggest flaw. I think the combat's average, but it's not terrible. But it's average. You can get by with it.
What was it about the
else.
combat that you didn't like?
I think that the whole skill trees and everything. I don't think there was enough to it. It felt like that once you got to a certain part, maybe halfway through the game, I'd say, and you'd kind of more or less maxed out the majority of your skill trees. But I just felt there wasn't anything else to add. Now I haven't played the DLCs, so whether or not I like you. I remember saying you said this to me as well. That after the main game, you kind of felt you were done, not because of it was bad, just because it felt like Geralt's story was done. And then, of course, there was 2 DLCs. So at some point, Pete, we probably should go and play. We both should go and play the DLCs.
Yeah,
So maybe,
Hearts of Stone and Blood and Wine. Yeah.
yeah. So whether or not they added something, and maybe they did. So maybe it's like, oh, maybe in the DLCs they did add a lot more to it. So maybe there is that. I can't comment on that part, obviously, but I just felt that it became a bit samey after maybe the halfway point. Once you'd kind of got your skills, you were kind of set in your ways, and I don't think that the power creep was maxed maybe a bit earlier than it should be, in my opinion. But that's okay. It's okay because everything else was just such bloody high quality that it didn't matter. So
yeah.
but the gameplay I'd probably put like a 6 or 7 out of 10. But everything else is more or less nearly a 10. So it's like, okay, if that's that, it doesn't particularly drag it down. If you're somebody who plays games for mechanics only, then maybe it's not for you. But even then, like I say, everything's so bloody good that because I like my mechanics as well, but I didn't care. But I was too engrossed in the world, bruv, to really give a shit. It's just like I'm nitpicking at the combat. That's like, okay, so that's the worst part of the game, but that's fine.
And it was hard as well. I mean, I remember
you had to prepare properly for your hunts. Yeah, you did.
Yeah, and you weren't always going to win. It's like there was some creatures out there in the forest that really kicked your ass, and you had to sort of go back and sort of work on why you didn't win.
Strategies.
Yeah, basically.
Definitely. Yeah.
I think also the cinematics helped a lot. I mean, we're looking at one now, which it was just. I think this one sort of hooked me in. I was like, okay, right, this is going to be a fucking good game, and the quality of it all was just. I loved it. It was just a suitable amount of darkness. And but there was some glimmers of light. I mean, like Ciri is amazing. I think we both fell for Ciri a little bit, and
yeah, she was a bit of a babe. I don't think either one of us minded. She was quite easy on the eye, and she was quirky. I think we both have that kind of taste in with all,
Yeah, she had a good personality.
And she was nice. And there was a lot of good characters. Like I said, because I didn't. Yennefer, I don't know. Yennefer, because I don't think that, unless she's in the first game, I know that she's not in the second game, so I don't know if this is the first appearance in the games for Yennefer. But I know that Trish was in the second game. I know that. So
yeah,
I did like Yennefer. I guess she was a little cold, but not really. Not when you really got once you got through her facade, she actually wasn't. But that was how she portrayed herself. Because obviously she was a witch, wasn't she?
Yeah, and those who don't know, witches can't, reproduce. Yeah, so that's kind of a thing. But yeah, I mean, like there's a whole love triangle going on between Triss, Geralt, and Yennefer, and as I said in a different podcast, Triss died in my playthrough, and I kind of was just like, yeah, that's fine. Whatever. Because
I think in mine, I think I just shipped her off. I think that she's waiting for you or something on the pier, and I think he just goes to, yeah, I ain't going with you, basically. And then to be honest, I did expect her to come back later on or something, like, and maybe she would die or she'd come back and help you or something. But no, she just goes.
Yeah, she's gone.
Halfway through the game, she's just like, no, I'm out of this. See ya.
Yeah.
Just like, all right, that's it.
Yeah. I just wanted, obviously I was focused on Yennefer. Yennefer knows what we're like, so it's just like, no, look, she's gone. See, she's gone.
It felt like that she was without being too sassy, I suppose. It felt like she was the proper love interest. You know what I mean? She was like the one he really kind of wanted.
Yeah.
Before he lost his memory or something, didn't he? And that's when he hooks up with Trish because he loses his memory or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So he forgets about Trish he forgets about Yennefer, and that's more or less the only reason he hooks up with her because he doesn't remember Yennefer. So it's like, yeah, you're kind of like the storyline kind of dictates that you're kind of like not the real one. You're like,
Yeah, it's the game's way of saying, yeah, all right.
um,
But yeah, I mean, like overall, yeah, it's just like a quality title, and we want more of it. Really, I know I do.
yeah. So what we'll do is let's give a review score, and then we'll do a little bit on The Witcher 4, what they can do. I know we might have talked about it before, but we can have a little convo about it. So overall, Con MP, I think I already know, but what's out of 10? What you going with?
Being that the combat isn't brilliant, as you said, it gets sort of kind of samey after a while. It's not an issue, but probably just in that for that reason, I'm going to give it a 9.5. Because it's like it shouldn't be. No game should be perfect, but this one is the closest, really. That it's I can give a review score for it. If the combat was better, then it would probably get a 10, actually. But yeah, 9.5 for me.
Yeah, I think I've more or less got to agree. I love this. This and space exploration games are the two kind of like my best genres, I suppose, and my best settings. So I was always going to like this. Give me a bloke with a sword, running around, especially if he's playing like a kind of mercenary character. I mean, I love that shit, to be honest.
Yeah.
I more or less I can't say anything different really to you. The combat is the weakest part, but it's average combat, so it could be a hell of a lot worse. It just doesn't live up to the rest of the game. But
Yeah.
9.5 out of 10. I don't think they can improve on much other than the combat. So if your game's only got one thing wrong with it, or one thing that's not top tier, then I wish every game would be like that. I tell you. So 9.5 for me. So we know there's a fourth. We know that. Whatever they want to call it at the moment, I forget. They've got different names for the 3 games they're working on. So
Yeah.
whatever they want to call it right now. But we know that it's coming. We don't know when. It could be a couple of years off still. I don't think is there going to be anything shown in the next couple of weeks, because we're taping this obviously a couple of days before. I suppose there could be an announcement, maybe.
I think the most we're going to get is a cinematic. I don't, Unreal Engine 5 is at a point where you can pretty much spit out some good quality cinematics in next to no time. So if they're trundling along like we think they are, then yeah, there could be something to see at the Games Fest or whatever else is coming this year, maybe towards the end of this year for the Game Awards, who knows. But we still don't know much about it. We don't know who the main character is. We don't know whether it's going to be Ciri or not.
I was going to ask you that. What would you do? Would you give it to Geralt for another game, or would you say, no, it's time for you to step to the... You can still be in the game, just...
He's not the main character. I think they confirmed that he's not.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, so it is a question of whether Ciri is going to be, or we're going to get someone else, a different Witcher. I don't know.
What if they... I don't think they'll do this, because they seem to want to have their characters, speak and everything like that. And I suppose they still could. But what if they said, no, we're going to do you can kind of choose, you can create at least what they look like, your own character, and the name.
Oh yeah, we discussed this. Yeah, that would be nice. Create your own Witcher.
Would you rather do that than be given a character already then?
I would probably like both. I want to sort of like play a game with a character they have in mind, and then maybe you unlock a sort of a game mode where you build your own Witcher and you go through a different story. That would be nice.
And one more question then, Pete. Is Gwent the best minigame ever?
It's pretty fucking close to being a good card game.
Nah, mate, it's not. It's a piano game in Rebirth. That piano game in Rebirth, mwah!
Uh, oh God, no! It's ghastly, mate. The card game in Final Fantasy VII. I don't think is very good. Because
I don't know.
they were trying to be different and stuff like that, which is fine, but I think it's too much of a disconnect between
Telling me.
what we've come to know with sort of
They've gone crazy with it, bro. That's all I'm saying. They've gone absolutely insane with the mini games.
yeah.
Absolutely crazy. No, Gwent was quality. I mean, I like it. There is the card game in Final Fantasy is not bad, and there has been other card games in other games that have been good, but I don't know if there's been one better than Gwent. It's certainly up there, as you're saying, standalone little mini game, and of course they ended up making it a game itself, didn't they?
Yeah. I mean, I am quite fond of Magic the Gathering. I'm just waiting for a
Yeah.
decent set to come out before I delve back in.
But that's its own game, though, isn't it? I'm talking about a game kind of being in another game. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. I mean, like, it would have been great to have, like, a Magic the Gathering card game in this game. I don't know. But it's close. I am torn between whether I like Gwent more or Magic the Gathering more. Magic the Gathering is a lot more involved, but
Yeah.
you know, Gwent is sort of like a simpler version, but it's so good though. Still,
They'll be bringing that back, bro. You know they will. In the fourth game, there'll be Gwent. There'll
Yeah.
be a better version of Gwent, probably an updated version.
yeah, I hope so. Yeah, that would be lovely.
So, as far as any story, then I mean, I think they covered, unless I'm wrong, and there's something in the DLCs, and there could be because we admit we haven't played the DLCs. Assuming there's no loose ends and everything has been concluded, where do you kind of want them to go storyline wise? More of the kind of same? Do you want to be a Witcher again, just kind of going around taking contracts, or do you want something different than what Witcher 3 had? Rather than, you know, not just doing the contracts. Do you want something else?
Well, I wouldn't say more of the same, but I just want some good side stories like before. I kind of want more of the same but different in terms of like the combat. That's why I'm hoping we get to play as Ciri, because Ciri is a lot more powerful.
Well, she wasn't she?
Yeah, so like the difficulty can come with hordes rather than sort of strong individual enemy types. I mean, like, we can have them obviously, but like with bosses and stuff, different kinds of bosses. Yeah, no, I just want that rich storyline content, and I want to sort of feel the same emotions that I felt with this one. The Bloody Baron and hating the three witches and etc. etc. So
And what if I said to you then, Pete? I'm just going to throw one idea out here because I've been thinking about this, and I think I would absolutely love it. I don't know if they'd ever do it, but what if, to compensate for Ciri's power level, let's say you did play as her, that Witcher 4 was set in the same world, obviously, but then it followed Ciri's journeys to other worlds, and you had what if there was 5 or 6 different maps, and every one of these maps is in a different world where Ciri travelled to. So you could have one in the cyberpunk world, one in like today's world, which would be damn. Imagine it. You'd be playing as Ciri and she uses her powers, and then she appears in bloody New York or somewhere like that in today's world, in today's setting.
sure.
And there's a map. There's a map, and each one of these kind of, obviously it couldn't be that big, so maybe it was just a map of New York, right? So she didn't travel the whole world, but then she spends X amount of time in New York for argument's sake before then she goes to another world and she has to maybe find her way back home. And that was The Witcher 4, and it's her going to these different worlds. Like, one would be futuristic, like I say, one would be like modern day. How would you feel if they did something crazy like that?
If they kept it to the expansions, I'd be alright with that, but I would want the main bulk of it to be in a fantasy setting. It would be great if they had added expansions, so like cyberpunk expansion where she goes right into that world. I'm not sure I want it in the main story, is what I'm saying, but it's a great idea though. Yeah.
For the record, that it's complete fabrication for me. Just an idea. There's been no leaks or anything like that, other than them claiming they might put it in Cyberpunk. But as Pete will tell you, they didn't. So
Yeah. No, we were hoping
no,
they
no.
did, but no. Never
Just a
mind.
pie in the sky thought from me. Would I like it? I think I would, and I think it would also solve the Siri being too powerful. Because yeah, okay, she might be powerful in those settings, but she's going to be running around New York with dudes shooting her. I know what it sounds like, and it doesn't sound like a Witcher game, but it's possible.
Yeah.
With saying, and they even hinted on where she's been a little bit, so that would even up a bit if she's fighting dudes with fucking machine guns and shit. But that probably wouldn't feel like a Witcher game, so I understand the trepidation.
Yeah, no, if you keep it to expansions, I think that would be a good idea.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we'll wait to see if there's any news over the next week or two. We will be covering obviously the mains game Summerfest, I think it's called, and that will be the end of this week. So look out for that, folks. And then there's an Xbox One on next Sunday, so 6 days from here. So we're going to be covering both. So looking forward
indeed.
to it.
Yeah, with some trepidation. I'm going to have to bring some munchies with me.
Damn right.
Um,
What was it?
yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, like we're very cynical, as you're aware. So,
That's because most games are not made like The Witcher. We are cynical, yeah, because we like our game to be mature.
yeah,
But when you get a game like The Witcher, which is exactly what we both want from our video games, I mean, Peter don't have exactly the same taste, but we do want the mature stuff for sure.
yeah,
So
we've got similar tastes, but I mean, like I can't stand
he loves
JRPGs, for
he,
instance.
he does really, yeah, he does love them really.
And yes, we will be discussing Final Fantasy VII when someone finishes the game.
Chapter 9, bruv. Chapter 9, bruv. I'm on my way.
Yeah. All right. We're going to leave it there, everyone. What are your thoughts about The Witcher 3? Do you love it like we do? If not, why not? Get out of our show. No, I'm joking. Yeah. So just just let us know what you think, and if you like our shows, then you know what to do. Subscribe, comment, leave a thumbs up, and all that good stuff YouTube asks us to do. And until our next show, which is this weekend, we will see you soon.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.